Right, so Meta just made your CPA look 30 to 50% worse overnight. If you're an e-commerce store owner running your own ads, you've probably opened your dashboard in Meta recently and had a small heart attack. Now, I'm going to explain exactly what's going on and what to actually do about it. Hi, I'm Daryl from Big Flare. I've been running my own e-commerce paid ads agency for over 13 years now. And on this channel, I help you grow your store with paid ads. Every month, I go through all the latest e-commerce ad news from Google, Meta, Amazon, TikTok, Microsoft, the lot of it, and I bring you only the things that actually matter for growing your e-commerce store. In other news items today that we will cover, there's something happening with ChatGPT right now that means it might already be recommending your products without you even knowing about it. There's also a big update from Google's own team about your product feed that completely changes how important it is for your business. All that and more coming right up. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the biggest one because this is the one that's freaking everyone out right now. Meta has officially changed how it counts attribution. Specifically, Meta has narrowed its click-through attribution definition down to link clicks only. So things like likes, comments, shares, video plays, and image expansions, Meta used to count those as clicks for attribution purposes, and now they don't. They've been moved into a new bucket called Engage Through Attribution. Now, here's why you need to care about this. The moment Meta flipped the switch, CPA's inside ads manager jumped 30 to 50% for most advertisers basically overnight. And the gut reaction from a lot of store owners is, oh no, my ads have stopped working, I need to pause everything, change my budgets, and panic. Yeah, don't do that. Because brands using third-party attribution tools, things like Northbeam, Triple Whale, Polar, they are seeing the exact same campaigns over the exact same period, showing completely stable performance. So actual sales are just fine. Actual revenue is just fine. Real performance hasn't changed at all. What's changed is just the way Meta is reporting things back to you inside the platform. So here's what I'd actually do about this. First, before you make any decisions on budget or pausing campaigns, look at your actual sales numbers. Look at your Shopify revenue, your Amazon revenue, wherever you normally track sales happening. If real revenue is steady, your campaigns are probably doing fine. The dashboard is just lying to you a little bit right now. Second thing, if you don't have a third-party attribution tool, not even something simple like UTM tracking plus Google Analytics, this is a really good moment to set that up. Because relying on Meta's own numbers to grade Meta's own performance was always a bit of a problem, and now it's an even bigger problem. Third, and this is the slightly worrying part, Meta's algorithm uses these signals to learn with. So when the definition of a click changes, the learning signals change too, which means your campaigns might genuinely take a few weeks to recalibrate, and during that period, you could actually see slower learning, more reliance on modeled data, and a bit more volatility than you're used to. So the short version is, don't panic. Don't slash budgets based on the new dashboard numbers, but do be patient with your campaigns over the next few weeks while everything settles down. And honestly, this is a really good reminder that your real source of truth for whether your ads are actually working is your actual business revenue, not whatever the platform is telling you. All right, next one is huge, and most store owners I've spoken to have no idea this is happening. So back in late March, Shopify enrolled millions of eligible US merchants into ChatGPT product discovery by default. This is through a feature called Agentic Storefronts. And the key word here is by default. There was no opt-in. There was no email asking for permission. If you're a Shopify merchant in the USA and you're eligible, your products are now being served inside of ChatGPT to people asking shopping-related questions. Now, the reason this matters so much is that AI discovery works completely differently to paid ads. With Google Ads or Meta Ads, the winners are those with the best optimized ads, plus the most budget to put behind those well-optimized ads. But with AI discovery, none of that matters. What matters is the quality of your product data. Things like having an accurate descriptive title, a clear, specific product description that answers actual questions buyers might ask. Up-to-date pricing, accurate stock availability, good reviews, trust signals like return policies and shipping info. So if your product descriptions are generic and let's face it, a lot of stores have descriptions that are basically just a feature list copied from the manufacturer, you're going to be invisible in AI shopping recommendations. Whereas if you take the time to rewrite descriptions to actually answer the kinds of questions a real shopper would ask, you've basically just unlocked a free new discovery channel. Here's what I'd recommend doing next. Pick your top 10 best-selling products. Look at the descriptions. Now ask yourself, if someone typed into ChatGPT something like, what's the best running shoe for trail running, or whatever your product and use case is, ask yourself, would my description help ChatGPT confidently recommend my product? If the answer is no, well, rewrite it and be specific. Use the words real customers use. Answer the questions they'd actually answer, and do this even if you're not a Shopify merchant in the USA, because this exact same pattern is going to roll out to other platforms and other markets pretty quickly. This is the new SEO, basically, and the brands that get on top of this now are going to be way ahead of everyone else in 12 months' time. Now, sticking with the AI discovery theme, because this next one is really connected, if you sell on Amazon, you need to know about what's coming up next. Amazon's AI shopping assistant, Rufus, has fundamentally changed how product discovery works on Amazon. It's gone from keyword-based search, where shoppers type wireless headphones and Amazon shows them a list, to problem-oriented discovery. So now shoppers will ask Rufus things like, I need headphones for running that won't fall out and have good battery life. And then Rufus picks the products it thinks best fits that need. And here's that stat that should grab your attention. Shoppers who interact with Rufus before buying are 60% more likely to actually purchase. So these are some of your highest intent buyers on the entire platform. But, and this is the bit a lot of sellers do not realize yet, Rufus builds a confidence score for each brand before it decides whether to recommend you. And if your brand doesn't pass that confidence check, you just get bypassed entirely. You're not even in the conversation. So what does Rufus actually look at? There are basically 5 core things. First, your order defect rate. So how often customers have an issue with your order. Second, refund frequency, how often you're refunding orders. Third, the tone of your customer messages. Are you handling complaints professionally and quickly? Fourth, pricing consistency. Are you constantly changing prices, running weird promos, or jumping all over the place? And fifth, the clarity of your visual assets. And this is a big one because a lot of brands have product images that are cluttered with sales stickers, multiple text overlays, USPs jammed into the image instead of the listing. Rufus can't easily read all that messy graphic stuff. So if your USPs are buried in cluttered images instead of clearly written in your listing, Rufus literally can't see them. All right, so what would I do next? Treat those 5 points as an audit checklist for every product that you sell, especially that last one. Look at your top products and ask, are my key selling points written in clear, plain text in the listing, or are they only in the image graphics? If they're only in the images, move them into the actual text fields. Make your listing AI legible, because the brands that have clean, simple, fact-checkable listings are the ones Rufus is going to keep recommending. And given Rufus shoppers convert at 60% higher rates, you really don't want to be on the wrong side of this one. Hey, real quick before we get into the next story, if you're finding this useful and you'd like a bit more of this kind of breakdown more often, I send out a free weekly newsletter where I cover the biggest e-commerce ads news every single week. It's basically the same vibe as this video, just shorter and in your inbox. Honestly, it's where I share a lot of the smaller updates that don't make it into a full YouTube video. It's completely free, links in the description below. All right, let's get back to it. Okay, so the next story is really interesting because it directly contradicts something Google actively pushes inside the interface every single day. The team at Optimizer just published a massive study where they analyzed roughly 20,000 Google Ads accounts. And what they found is Google's ad strength indicator, that little indicator next to your responsive search ads that tells you whether your ad is poor, average, good, or excellent, it does not actually predict performance. It doesn't predict your CPA. It doesn't predict your ROAS. It doesn't reliably predict whether your ad is going to be making money. I've actually been telling people this for years now, that the ad strength indicator in Google doesn't do jack. Actually, in some of my tests, deliberately making the ad strength worse increased performance. And finally, a study has been released that proves this. This is a big deal because Google has spent years training people to chase that excellent rating. You open up your ads, you see the little ad strength bar, and there's this implicit pressure to keep adding headlines, keep adding descriptions, jam in more variations until Google tells you it's excellent. And a lot of advertisers, especially newer ones running their own ads, assume that if Google says it's excellent, that means it's going to perform better. Well, according to this study, that's just not true. What the study did is find that there are specific copy choices and structural factors that actually do correlate with better results. Things like the relevance of headlines to the actual search query, the clarity of the offer in the description, the specificity of the call to action, the structural variation between headlines, so Google has actually got different messages to test, not just 5 rewordings of the same line. So my take on this is stop optimizing for the ad strength meter. Optimize for clarity, relevance, offer specificity instead. If your ad is genuinely well written with strong headlines that match buyer intent and a clear offer, it will perform better even if Google calls it average. And honestly, this is one of the things I love about independent studies like this one. They give you permission to ignore the metrics that don't actually matter and focus on the stuff that genuinely moves the needle in your ads account. So next time you're writing ads for your store, don't stress if the ad strength bar is sitting on good or average. If your headlines are punchy and relevant and your offer is clear, you're going to be just fine. All right, last story for this month, and this one's a sleeper hit because most store owners don't think about their product feed nearly enough. Google's official ads liaison posted on X earlier this month basically saying, hey, just so you know, the Merchant Center feed isn't just for shopping ads anymore. Your product feed is now the infrastructure that powers AI mode shopping inside Google. It powers shoppable ads on connected TV. It powers virtual try-ons. And it's powering a bunch of new surfaces that Google is rolling out across YouTube, search, and shopping. So basically, your feed has gone from being the thing that powers your shopping ads to being the thing that decides whether you exist on basically every Google surface in 2026. And this is a big shift because historically, a lot of store owners have set up their feed once, plugged in the Shopify app or the WooCommerce plugin, and then they just left it at that. Maybe they glanced at it once a quarter. Well, that's no longer enough. If your feed is incomplete, if your titles are generic, if your images are low quality, if your product attributes are missing, you're now missing exposure across way more surfaces than you used to be. So here's what I do with this. Block out an hour or two and just go and audit your Merchant Center account. Look at the diagnostics tab, see if there are any disapproved products, any warnings, any missing attributes. Look at your product titles. Are they descriptive and keyword rich? Or are they just the manufacturer's default name? If your product titles are weak, by the way, then maybe check out my previous video last week that gives away my AI agent product title optimizer. I will link that video in the description below this video. Look at your images. Are they clean, high resolution, and showing the product clearly? Then look at the optional fields you might have skipped over. Things like product type, GTINs, additional images, product highlights. The more complete your feed is, the more surfaces Google can put you on. And given how much Google is leaning into AI-driven shopping experiences right now, your feed quality is genuinely one of the highest leverage things that you can fix in your entire ad setup. To be fair, I'd put this above almost any campaign level optimization that you could be doing this month. A great feed lifts everything. Performance max, standard shopping, AI mode, the whole lot. A weak feed limits all of it. Now, speaking of feed quality, if this story about your Merchant Center feed got you thinking, well, you're going to want to watch this video right up here. You might be looking at your shopping ROAS and wondering why it's not where you want it to be. Well, there's a really good chance the answer is hiding in your product feed. So this video right up here really goes deep on exactly that. Why low shopping ROAS is almost always a feed problem and what to actually do about it. I think you'll get a lot of value out of this one, so go check it out. I'll see you over there.